Wow, I actually didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
that's-
I mean, usually solo casting, so.
I guess so. That is a good life hack, though. Does
Mhm,
that mean if I
mhm.
put the person I want to follow below me, they'll always be number 4?
I think so, yeah. I think it is in order. It's just that, lobbies are almost always randomized.
Nice. I like to steal some observing sometimes when I want to like stand up for a minute or two. So
Yeah.
that's a good little trick to know. All right, let's do this. In the bottom right side, our red Terran player. This is Kua.
In the top left, as the blue Protoss, he is Showtime.
And he has already got a probe across the map. He did this against Hero Marine as well, right? Started off the game with like started the series with a very quick proxy. And that's exactly what he's looking to do here. And it put him in a good position until the Cloak Banshee showed up and he had 0 detection. So let's see if he's somewhat been able to learn his lesson and is maybe able to do something with this now. As you do see Showtime about to drop down this gateway.
Clever position too, really making it as close as possible, yet also as difficult to find as possible. If Cure were to do an early SCV scout and then try and check around the map, which Cure is not doing. A lot of the Korean Terrans are doing the very basic 1-1-1, 2 barracks, either like faster sim or sim and combat shields. Like that was the thing that was different. Like hold on, guys. But I think that was like the thing to do for maybe a solid 2 or 3 weeks. Like literally every game, my dude. It's branched out again. Obviously, we saw as you pointed out, Banshees from Hero Marine that actually stomped this. But if Cure were to test the waters a little bit, I think it would be with that 1-1-1 2 racks, and apparently it does not include, or 3 racks rather. It would include not too fast of an SCV scout. So unfortunately, it gets in here little late to start a bunker. Actually, if he starts it immediately, he already has. Oof, man. Okay, he was quick about that. Yeah, I think that should be good. And the Reapers should try and buy as much time as possible, too.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty tough. Meanwhile, Showtime just hides his Twilight Counters in the bottom left of the map. So this is like, hello, did someone take over Showtime's account today? Like, what is going on? It kind of feels like keeping the probe there. Maybe even a Dark Shrine as a follow-up. So just trying to be disruptive early. And if you're disruptive early and then get into Dark Temples, it's just like, that chaos which sort of takes away from the idea of being able to, think about preparing for those other things such as DTs, right? So this Adept doesn't do a lot. It slows down the CC ever so slightly, gets 1 kill. Second Adept coming up, but you can already see just leaves 1 Adept at home in case the Reaper comes across and then doesn't really do anything else because he's building for that Dark Shrine.
Cure knows something is up. There is a version of the build I just talked about that includes a Raven that was also popular for a hot second. He might get that just because he's like, okay, you're doing something. That SCV was in the natural for a bit longer, saw no Nexus. Obviously, it comes back in and sees no Nexus and also nothing else. Okay, well, now it sees a Nexus, but that's pretty darn late. Like, if you're going to start covering your bases, Bunker, Cyclone, Raven, I think would cover basically everything that could happen. So I mean, that's what I think he would try and do, but I think you also need to get a 3rd gas really quickly to afford that. So now at this point, he's just going to have to have a scan.
Yeah. I guess so. It's going to be... You definitely don't afford the Raven, right? So... He's going to build a tech lab, so you maybe get a Raven when that tech lab finishes, but again, that's, kind of quite far down the line. So yeah, we're going to get some scans here to deal with this. The nice thing for Showtime is you've got a fast warp in of this DT, right? Because you can warp in right at the front with the proxy gateway. So it's even going to, this is one of, the fastest DTs you can get without any sort of, fastest DTs into your opponent's base without any sort of, warp prism play. So warps in nice and quick, starts running forwards. Cure is close to a scan on the low ground. He has 1 on the high ground. Should be fine.
Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, a lot of professional Terrans will save their scan around 5 minutes because that's a typical 2-base timing. This is a little accelerated. But in this case, he's saving it just because he doesn't know what's going on.
He didn't drop the scan
very quickly.
very
Late
quickly.
to that.
Yeah.
Okay, now he's fine.
He's okay, but the DT in the main base, there's not a lot of units. That's kind of the issue. I guess the Cyclone and the tank obviously cleaned up, right? But this DT in the main's got 8-9 workers now, so Showtime's getting a lot of damage. Recalls it out as well. So he's going to be able to keep this one alive, and that's really nice, because then it's just 1 less DT you have to build again as he jumps it into the Warp Prism. Yeah, that's really nice, because you're obviously expecting Cure to be able to come and try scan that down. Obviously, now Cure is going to keep on scans, and you know what? Cure's not fixing his main base income. He's got no gas mining right now. Kua?
Yeah, hold on here. Like, you do need it. You want to go on to stim, combat shields, all that good stuff. Medivacs are great too. Add-ons, those are fine.
Is he just? He's just afraid the DT's still here, so he's waiting to bring the SCVs back. Wow, obviously it looks stupid to us, but in his mind, he's like, okay, well, there's a DT here. Well, now there is again because of the Warp Prism showing up and dropping it back in. But yeah, in a way, he was kind of right not to bring the SCVs back, I guess.
Showtime! Oh my god, I would start cursing this guy out on ladder.
Yeah,
oh
I know.
jeez, he proxy gates into Dark Templars into like what, a 1 Archon charge that all in. Oh my god.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, I am disgusted. I'm
Makes
revolted right
me
now.
throw up in my mouth a little bit. Kira's going to come across the map, and he's going to get all the information. Immediately, just no gas on the natural expansion is a huge tell. But again, just not mining gas in the main base for so long. A lot of SCVs that weren't mining properly because they're all in the natural minerals. These are all issues that are now really going to come into play, because how on earth are you going to survive against this attack? It's going to be really tough because the Archons are going to be very tanky. The Zealots are going to be very powerful. The Siege Tank doesn't do a lot against this. Yeah, the wall-off is almost a necessity, right? And he actually walls in front of the bunker, which maybe isn't even a bad idea because it's going to be so tough to get a full wall-off up in time.
Yeah, you can't afford that. One Maria at the front's going to alert him to pull the SCVs, but I'm not sure it'll even be fast enough. There's a missile turret? Yeah, the Observer barely survives. Now the Marine goes a little bit far forward. Showtime not willing to reveal exactly what he's doing yet, but I think Kira's onto it. He's got more depots on the way, but still no SCV pull. Adept's going to start the damage on the tank. Actually going to the main. Oh, that was a wall!
Oh no, well, the Siege Tank is going to go down. The bunker goes down, and now these Marines on their own will do okay because the Archons can't really reach them. So you can see Showtime's kind of pulling the Zealots back for a moment. He's already kind of broken through the main part of this, right? So there's not a lot of power left over. Attempt to engineering bay block doesn't go down in time. And as 11 SCVs drop, we're going to see these Archons pushing in towards the main base. And, well, these Marines on their own with no stim or combat shields or anything, they are not great. They're in pretty good numbers, so I guess the Zealots don't do amazingly. Wow, okay. Hello. That was a defense.
He's actually going to win this game, isn't he? The use, like, him not being surrounded by the Zealots and avoiding the Archon shots is key to him staying alive here. And then his units keep on increasing because he actually has decent production. And now he has stim and a medevac. Like, he now absolutely has the potential to win this game. Sure, he's down in workers, but his army is going to be straight up better in a second. Yeah,
and down 9 workers actually doesn't really matter, right? You know, you've got +1 attack as well, so that's going to be a huge advantage. You know, Showtime's attack is really not here at all. And yeah, you've got the Terran down to 1 base. I think that's the one way you win this, right? Showtime, you kind of keep the Terran on 1 base here. You've got to be so afraid of the counter drop, because as medevacs come out, there's a lot of potential. Even just 8 Marines across the map right now, even if it just forces a warp in, that's so many units you then have to warp in back at home to then be safe, and then it jumps into the main base. You have to warp in units again. This is not good, though, from Kira, losing a bunch of Archons down, Marauders down on that low ground, getting force fielded out from the ramp.
Yeah, a little sloppy there. You're exactly right about the... Oh, good attempt at a DT, but the Raven's still alive. You're exactly right about the counter drop. That's going to be the next threatening thing here, because I think eventually we'll have enough units to both hold and drop with the choke on your side, the anti-armor missile on your side eventually. I love Showtime's need to go into robotics bay. You know, you don't need upgrades for disruptors, and they're definitely a great comeback unit, but the funny thing is, they're not very good at dealing with drops, right? A lot of the time, because you just pick up and leave again. They need some support with them to help out.
I like the idea, though, because it's, you know, I think the natural kind of response to this is Widow Mines, which is what we've seen from Cure. And obviously, Disruptors deal well with Widow Mines, but Disruptors also deal well when it's kind of like a low, scrappy game, right? When you just need, like, one connection to really kind of tilt a fight. And that's all Showtime really needs, like, one connection, slow down a bit of the bio, and then because Cure is only on 1 base of economy, you know, coming back from that is going to be very, very tough, as Showtime's doing a really great job as well, just delaying this push down the ramp into the natural as long as possible. Anti-armor missile comes down, Showtime's just going to force field again, runs in a little bit, deals a bit more damage, gets a few more units. Really just good use of the force fields. At some point, I'm surprised Q hasn't even tried to just drop over to the left-hand side or something and kind of push out through that sort of way, as we see the Widow Mines this time will get off down the ramp, and it looks as though it's time for Showtime to finally leave.
Very frustrating for Kira. He knew he was going to get that natural up eventually, but Showtime really did a good job of buying as much time as possible and only losing the Zealots as well, not the Sentries, not the Archons. So good stuff from Showtime, showing some not just change up in his style, but actual like mastery of it. You know, he's got a plan beyond just the DTs or the charge it all in. Where when you see a lot of people practicing this stuff, if they don't win, they're just like, what do I do now? Now he's got a plan, and it might just work out well. I think if Kira does start a pretty like heavy drop phase, lots of multitasking, then that could be what tears Showtime apart. Because you know, pound to pound, his army's not going to hold up. It is a lot about those disruptors. But he's just going to continue distracting Cure, making sure that even if he is multitasking, he's going to mess up. Because Showtime's also going to be dropping into his main base constantly until that War Prism dies. That's always going to be a threat.
Well, the Bio units were already in the main base. He literally only just started to pull them away, but it's just nice. Showtime comes in. He's going to actually get a couple Marine kills as well. There is a scan available, but again, even forcing a scan in a low eco scenario like this one is really going to eat into some of that economy that Q's kind of relying on. Just Disruptor Shot fires, and the second Disruptor Shot comes through as well. There's nothing to shut that down. I think Kia thought there was maybe only 2 Disruptors because he Matrix one. He was like, oh yeah, I'm fine now. But then, yeah, Disruptor number 3 showed up, and Kira is pushed away. So give Showtime the safety to get up his third base and start mining from it.
Well, Raven seems like it's going to survive for a long time. There's not a lot of shoot it downs. That's always a spellcaster, and you know, for Cure that could help, but. And with only like really 2 interference matrix, if it ever gets enough energy, and we're already at 4 disruptors, it's not going to solve his problems, man. He's going to have to split very well, which I know he can do, but it gets more and more difficult, especially if you're still being pressured by the War Prism. Eventually, Liberators can be a way to combat an army like this, but then that puts you into more of a siege type of Terran, right? As opposed to a mobile one, like dropping like this. But this is a perfectly timed drop as the third base is under attack. Showtime forced to recall, loses a lot of his units. Oh my god, it's only Disruptors left over right now.
Yeah, he just lost everything in this. I mean, that's the power of 1-1 upgrades, right? And just dropping in 19 probes go down. Wow, I mean, suddenly Q has just won this game, right?
I feel like that might be the case. Like, he just got so many units. They're not upgraded, and they were, of course, in that recall. They were a little, like, SimCity'd against. So many units went down. Yeah, they were the least expensive units, but it's not like Showtime really got to an ideal situation. His third base wasn't mining very well, and it was harassed, and now down to 36 workers. He can't just replace now Depths, apparently, because any glaives, right? He can't replace that quick enough to really be threatening.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I love this, just dropping in the main base. Showtime does not have the units to really defend multiple positions right now, and as he tries to disrupt the drop in the main, even that's kind of not going so well, but the third base is just gonna die. There is nothing here. He scans for the DT. A couple of Zealots here and there, but there's so much bio, and Showtime's gonna get overrun, especially the fact that anything he warps in is down an entire set of upgrades. I mean, that's just an issue that just doesn't disappear in this game at all, so... As this Nexus might survive, all the probes did go down. He voices Disruptor Shot, okay. Kills the Nexus as well, and then he just lifts up and leaves. And there's no Stalkers to kind of go chasing after that or anything. There's no Blink anyways. Game is really under Cure's control right here after Showtime. This is such a well-prepared build from Showtime. Like, he obviously knew what he wanted to do, and he just wasn't able to do enough to end the game.
Well, Kira played the follow-up very well as well. Like, I think he's been maybe under the same situation enough times. He's faced a couple cheesy Terrans on that Korean ladder, or Protoss rather. That the drop phase was exactly what he should have done. I mean, it wasn't exactly like a billion drops at once, you know, Gosu mode, but one big drop was still able to do it, even with a couple of good disruptor shots. Still, Kira just has enough, and he's coming in from behind too. Like, this is going to be a surround on disruptors, which is super effective.
Yeah, right now these Stalks are just walking in towards the bio as well, which kind of reveals this army over here. This army in the center might actually just kill everything anyways if you can avoid the disruptor shots. There's a couple of Zealots coming running in. I mean, we'll never really find out, right? Because the rest of the units come in. Well, really good disruptor shots on both left and right sides, but again, Showtime has so little left beyond this, and he is going to have to type out GG to give Q a game 1 of this best of 5. Yeah, let's see it. As we go into game number 2, in the top left-hand side, our red Protoss player is Showtime.
In the bottom right, as the blue Terran, he is Cure.
Game 2 on Ephemeron, now that we've actually got the right map loaded up, able to get into the game. I'm kind of interested to see what exactly Showtime wants to do here, right? You you kind of said it. It should just be him going back towards his typical playstyle, right? Just in towards, a nice safe opening, get a 4 to 5 minute third base. Just play it safe, like, unless Pure throws a curveball and does something to throw Showtime off from there. Let's just see that macro game and see how Showtime matches up in that regard, because there should be some, possibility for him to maybe do that a little bit better when the game isn't maybe in that kind of weirder scenario when he doesn't just not do maybe quite enough damage with the early attack.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm anticipating. Macro game from Showtime. Cure, I also think we'll just do another, the 1-1-1 into additional barracks. He certainly has the potential to mix up anything else, like a tank push or, well, that's kind of actually what we're mixing up with right now.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of people going for 3 racks outside of ladder, basically. You don't have a lot of 2-1-1s anymore either, the factory and the 2-1-1 type thing. It really is a lot about the 1-1-1 3 racks. So mostly just anything that can come off of that. So you go Cyclone Viking, you do a push against Stargate, you tank with a Liberator, like trying to push there. I know Time is still doing a lot of that stuff, but it really seems like a lot of the other Korean Terrans have, like, I don't know, they found their ideal build and they're just like, yeah, it works.
Yeah. A lot of it's just so reactionary as well. Like, if you get that scout with the Reaper, you can maybe sort of decide, oh, you're going to Stargate, then, why wouldn't you go Cyclone Viking? It's just so good in that sort of scenario. It keeps you so safe. It does give you a lot of pressure to put onto the map. So there's a lot of opportunities based on what you see as this Reaper. Well, that's what his job will be, try and scout. And Showtime's not gone for like a full wall off across the frontier or anything, so there is not any real Reaper denial. As you see the Stargate coming in, and this Reaper might, kind of depends where the Adept zones, but Reaper could have maybe gone quite deep there. It's a very fast Stargate though. Just dropping straight down and getting that up and running. And Showtime has a probe hidden up to the upper right-hand side, just doesn't want to bring that home while he knows the Reaper might find it and deal some damage.
Well, the Reaper wanted to wait to see where the Adept was coming. It will not see the Stargate at this rate, though, because second Adept on that high grounds. Well, yeah, I guess it has to worry about the Adept going across the map, which is exactly what Showtime's doing. So that could be a surprise, but let's be real. Stargates are basically never deadly to a Terran anymore, even if they're proxied, really. They just don't two-shot workers anymore. So not too worried about that. I should mention, while this is not what's happening, that there is, we did see it yesterday, right? The Banshees.
Yeah.
And that seems to be actually what Kira is doing. We also have Hellion openers that could exist in this series, because that is so kind of popular in the Korean Terran scene. So those are the other things we can see. And, well, here it is. Banshees, Cloak, hidden off to the side so an Adept can't accidentally see it. The Oracle will see it, but it's about that timing. I mean, actually, it might not even see it if Kira's really good at denying the perimeters of his base.
Yep, the zoning is really important. The only issue is it's only really Marines, right? So if there was like a Cyclone up or so, it's much easier to kind of deny this information. With only Marines that position in the natural, you should get a full scout here at Showtime. You come in, factory, see the starport. Oh, doesn't see the tech lab, but now he uses the revelation. Very safe, just in case he's being baited into like a Widow Mine as well for the scout. So just making sure there and sees it is Cloak. So now he knows, and he'll just stop a Phoenix or two behind the Oracle play, which means he should just have the energy available to detect those Banshees with the revelation. Plus, on top of that, obviously, we'll just have the Phoenix to clean them up. So this should be a pretty okay setup here, realistically, for Showtime. We talked a bit yesterday about how those Banshees still manage to find a way in. Sometimes it's like, how do they still always find damage even when you're prepared against them? But this really is the best possible setup to not let them do anything at all with the Oracle and the Phoenix combined. Maybe even if you're feeling like really safe, just build a shield battery in each mineral line, just so if the Banshees split up and you can only go one place at a time, then the Banshees can't do damage if they're split up, basically.
Exactly. This is the safest thing to do against Banshees, but yeah, we should not... Yeah. Showtime should also consider, not forget, that you can just push with the Banshees, and they have an insane amount of damage against a lot of the early game units, any Protoss unit, actually, I should say. Obviously not against the Stargate units, but Immortals get their shields popped, they go down pretty quickly, Stalkers go down very quickly, and then on top of that, you have to deal with the Marines and the tank on the ground, stopping your Phoenix from killing said Banshees.
Yep. As you see Cure pressing forwards here. Couple of Adepts being picked away at. Oracle drops down a Revelation, hitting the Banshees, tank, a few of the Marines. I like this. The Phoenix is already getting a couple of tags on that Banshee as well, right? Just Picking up some damage. A lot more Stalkers warping in. They'll probably go and commit to killing off this first siege tank here. Oracles will help speed that up a little bit. In fact, he's going for more than just that first siege tank. He's kind of going for everything, but now he's lost 2 Oracles. Stalker count's really getting quite low, but he will eventually take this down, lifts the tank, and Showtime's going to push this back.
That was I think well done. He had a really good concave. He ended up saving at least one of the oracles, that I think is most important, and he now has some adepts that can continue chasing down reinforcements. Maybe a little overeager there. Tank fire was pretty brutal. Didn't actually get into the the no fire zone there, but okay, all right. Still saves 3 of them.
Yeah, the last tank shot was the deadliest, right? Because until then I was like, well, you know, you only lost 1 adept, you got a couple Marines, and then the last tank shot went off. It's like, oh, those adepts are real low now. But yeah, good cleanup. I kind of thought he'd just go for the first tank and maybe back off a little bit, maybe pick his way through the bunker, but he just saw the opportunity to end the game, and not end the game, but end the push. And that's exactly what he did, just committed to it. And yeah, you lost quite a bit there as Showtime, but the Terran player lost more. It's a very expensive army. 2 tanks. You know, Banshees are very expensive, all those Marines. And, you know, Kira even had 5 SCVs that went down in the fight. So, you know, it's also kind of, you know, a work commitment as well. Because now the Oracle comes, the one that survives, comes back across the map, gets 3 workers, and that will be the end of that thanks to the Vikings. Actually, already 3 Vikings up here as well.
That's almost like I think Showtime would be like, yeah, it sucks I lost my Oracle, but like 3 Vikings, really?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Do you think he goes in, he's building a row of it? Do you think he still goes Colossus when you see 3 Vikings? I mean, obviously 3 Vikings don't shut it down completely, right? But I'd almost be kind of like a little bit like, do I really want to commit to this? Like,
I think he does. Just because he has charge on the way too. I don't know if it was blank. Maybe I'm thinking Disruptors, but that's the other option is Disruptors. Yeah, Colossus.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Like these Vikings probably give themselves up trying to harass. So
yeah. It's just so funny that 3 Vikings is a lot, but they were either part of the fight, you know, they're reinforcements that are actually pretty effective, or they do take down all the oracles very quickly. In this case, just 1. So bit of a delay, and maybe some other things the Starport could have been doing, but we do have some pretty nicely lined up upgrades for Cure, whose macro was on point behind that push. He's got 3cc already up, which means he should be able to afford a second starport pretty quickly once he figures out what's going on, which striking into Colossus has been very popular, and he did actually see the robotics bay. So this should just be him getting Medivacs to 4, right? Is usually the magic number.
Yep.
And then Vikings.
Yeah, should just be very standard stuff, as Showtime's not slowing down at all, taking a 4th base. So this has ended up going the way he wanted to, right? It's gotten into that stage where he's able to get a bunch of bases. He's going to be able to play defensively and defend them and keep them up. And then it goes into this macro game. And again, that's where we really expect to see Showtime excelling. But you just can't forget that Kira has been so very good at just all points of TVP as of late. So we will see. Because, I mean, as Ghosts come up and Vikings set up perhaps against the Colossus, it's been a little bit tank heavy right now. We'll see. He actually already moved off the tech lab. So it looks like he's going to move away from that and on a second starport. It just is kind of getting into almost Q's comfort zone as well. When those goats are up and hand shockwaves are in play, he's going to be able to set up across the board and say, okay, well, now I've got the tools to deal with your army, and I have the control to be able to do it as well.
It's always interesting seeing the priority of the Ghost Academy, despite seeing Colossus first and foremost. But it is one of those games that's going to everything. So either or, first, second, whatever. Point is, he will, have those ghosts, have the upgrade, and have a decent number of Vikings. Showtime doesn't hurry into Templars, but rather adds on those Disruptors. I think that is the better call. I mean, eventually you do add on Templars, and Showtime has shown us some really, really great control and Warp Prisms. I mean, I just go back to that Showtime versus Here Marine in Montreal, right? That was a pretty sick series. But Disruptors are going to... They're not going to be hard countered by anything coming out of these structures right now. So that's hopefully when they do the job.
Yeah, just, you know, Temple is always nice because they do so much. They zone against the Vikings as well, which come out against the Colossus. But Disruptors right now will do a lot, especially against like what is kind of a siege tank army as well. They can maybe get a couple shots towards those. Let's just see, because if you can even push back to kind of create space towards the tanks, that can be something you work with here. Viking count has been building, but it's not really there yet. It's on 7 against 4 Colossus. You'd kind of want a bit more. There's Blink available as well, but with the tanks, you know, set up in a line here, can't really do much. Of course, Zealots and DTs are set up to hit the 4th base.
You know, with the DT blink on the way, they could actually wait for that to be a planetary, then pounce and snipe
Yeah.
a planetary. Because right now it just lifts, right?
Yeah, it definitely felt like he's waiting for
Scary.
something as Showtime moves up here. Got a couple of ghosts he could have got. Instead, he just takes the EMPs and then goes. He is going to move in with these DTs to for the planetary force, which should, just as he said before, get lifted up. It waits kind of a long time for it. One DT goes down, but keeps it from being a planetary, which means that he can obviously keep on being aggressive there a little bit. I kind of agree with you, though. Like, if you wait a little bit longer, maybe you can actually come in and get the full-on snipe on that planetary when it can't be lifted.
Cure would do well to have at Santa Tower. He is
Yeah.
repositioning, realizing Showtime was moving, but oh, Showtime is going to snipe the command center. Nope, goes to the Vikings instead.
Yeah,
that might be the right
Disruptor's all
call.
over. The Disruptor's doing a lot here. As the Vikings, though, he went for the planetary, then he started hitting Vikings, but then he didn't actually kill many more Vikings, so it felt like towards the end of this fight, Showtime didn't really know what he wanted to do. And the Vikings survive and are now chasing down Colossus. The Warp Prism has fallen. And Cure's just going to keep pushing this across the map. He's just killed off a lot in those last couple moments there. The Disruptors were very good, but when you lose your entire tech structure from Showtime, it's not going to be good defending afterwards.
Well, taking out the Vikings is kind of a moot point now. He's not even going to Colossus. He's trying on Disruptors. There's no High Templars, no Archons. There's some okay upgrades. Actually, it's favorable for Cure, so not even the upgrades in favor. But he is maybe a little overstimmed. His tanks aren't sieged. He's not quite prepared to take a fight against a mass Gateway army. So Showtime will continue to hold just by, tons of Gateway reinforcements. So the game is not over, but that was kind of an almost indecision, right? He absolutely could have grabbed the command center with one more shot.
Yeah.
And you would have thought he would have killed more Vikings if he was focus firing them than he
Yeah.
did.
I feel like he focus fired the first one, then he stopped focus firing, so the Stalkers were just left there kind of attacking. And maybe he was just busy kind of, because he was firing so many disruptor balls off, and they did do a lot of damage. Maybe that's what he was focusing on, but there was something there that we just didn't quite add up based on how we were kind of expecting it to go. There's a lot of gate units, but how much do a lot of gate units do? I feel like once EMPs are out and available like this, for example, it's like, can you really justify pushing in? Because you're going to be going in with, basically half health zealots. I'm not quite convinced. He takes all of his zealots to the left-hand side to try and break down the fourth base. He brings the rest of his army to the right, but he's going to try and poke up and get something done as well. Use the Disruptors to push units away, giving him the chance to blink up into the Liberators. He'll take them both down. Disruptor shot hits in the center. Decent split to minimize damage. Next Disruptor misses. Feels like the Zealots should have gone in by now, though. They should have already been here dealing damage. Instead, he's just a bit too focused on the right side. As now he goes running in. Yeah, he'll get the tank. The planetary is probably questionable, though, because if the SCVs just repair the Liberator damage, yeah, I don't think you get that, so you just go for SCVs instead. But now you're rotating back out to the left side.
Well, his Liberator count has grown so much that he can actually, even if he takes, bad damage to the Disruptors, his siege units are going to hold for a little while. And it's making it a little bit easier for Cure to defend such a mobile army that also has the ability to instantly deplete 20 supply. That's a good change, because I think he also was like, DTs, I got to be worried about my planetary if DTs are here, and he's absolutely correct. But unfortunately, these ones blink past what is not even a missile turret. They are now being scouted, and they will be defended against. The blink is on cooldown, but still 13 SCV is not too bad. And once again, drawing the army out of position. Liberators weren't sieged up this time, and there's not enough of them, and they don't have enough upgrades. Showtime is out positioning Cure.
Yeah, he's really just pulling them all over the place. And please finish off the orbital. I mean,
What? You serious right now, Showtime?
Showtime's like realizing too, but now he sends his Disruptors into the Liberators, and oh my god, the orbital still survives.
Oh, you kidding me right now?
Across the map, some bio trying to fight, but the Zealot Warpins, for the moment, holding it off. I mean, there's only a couple more orders left, so this should be cleaned up here eventually. But yeah, Showtime just lost his Disruptors, and they were a big part of why the army was kind of working. He's taking an EMP on the sentries, and he will just have to back away, and Cure will hold on, in most part because of Showtime's indecision there.
That was, I guess he moved his army back, and that included the Disruptors, which were obviously the last thing to move left. So they were, already moving into the Liberators. Like, that was so weird. Really took away the momentum he was gaining. He was gaining so much momentum. I was expecting a GG. Third C dies. You're contained. Your fourth base maybe goes down afterwards. You can't grab your fifth at the very least. Instead, momentum really halts. Cure is still not in a fantastic position, but he has gotten to a point where he will quickly make up for those losses, I think, because he can double expand now. He's actually so scared he'd or maybe he just missed rally. I'm not sure what this planetary is doing, but
Yeah,
should be
it's
on
on a bit of an
five bases.
adventure, isn't it?
And now he has Liberator range, and now he has 3/3. He should also have another upgrade on the way for the ship weapons. It's a questionable engagement.
Yeah, blinking up. I feel like Showtime's like, yeah, this kind of went okay before, but it doesn't get the ghost kill he was originally chasing. The Liberator, second one, just about survives. And you just get your army scanned. I mean, again, at Showtime, you've got quite a good worker advantage. Just sit back, let it build, and, you know, you going into Colossus again, get some storms up. Yeah, it's maybe frustrating you up against lots of libs and lib range now. But maybe you just have to accept that this is going to a later stage of the game. Maybe you even need to think about going in towards your fleet beacon and going in towards what could be, you know, some Tempest or so to help against those ranged Liberators.
Definitely have to get the Tempest if he really plans on winning this game. He can continue to take advantages, but I think actually breaking the Terran is going to get hard without that. Denying the 5th base for as long as possible. It seems to be an eventuality, though. Just with how much Cure does have. Back into Colossus as well. Continuing his upgrades, so they've evened out. But now we're on to even more Plasma Shields.
Yeah. Shields obviously will help a little bit as time passes by. You're going to see the Zealots charging up here. The Sun gets the Ghost before an EMP goes off or anything, so these units are going to be a bit healthier than usual when they push up this ramp. And, well, still doing okay if he hits all these Ghosts with the Disruptors. It's obviously pretty good for him, and he's ended up recalling some of the Disruptors away as he maybe realizes he's gone a little bit too deep. And he is dealing damage over across the map as well. Some High Templars trying to storm down there. 12 workers down. Planetary Force fighting the Archon. This Archon goes after some of these SCVs. They're all so low. Could get a bunch of kills, but unfortunately just hasn't remembered to look back on it. And the Archon will die.
Well, still not able to crack that 4th base, but keeping it not really efficiently mining is still pretty good. And Showtime has been very efficiently mining this entire time. As he swapped over into that more mobile thing with the Stalker Zealot Disruptor, he was pretty good. Pretty good about expanding, and even expanding once more here to the middle left. So he's able to afford some kind of bad trades, some discrepancies in the resources lost, as well as afford to complete and round out his army with Colossus and Storm. But I am wondering if we'll ever see those Stargates thrown down, those Tempests, to break the Liberators.
Yeah, it feels like you might just go for that scrappier style of just trying to, you know, keep on brute forcing it a little bit with the economy. But right now, it's really not working. And I wonder how many of these fights you take before you drop the rest of the Stargates, etc., right? Like, because at some point you've got to realize maybe I do just have to play the longer version of this. It's tough, though, because obviously you feel like you got the momentum, and you feel like if you start up those Stargates, you let Cure maybe get back in the game a little bit as well. Good EMPs hitting a lot of the High Templars. One Storm left, which will come in to try and help against the Libs. And Showtime pushing through this. The last couple of Liberators going down. He's just not killing this Planetary Fortress. And now his Disruptor count starting to die off once again. Geez, Zealots having to pull away. The Mass Repair holding on as a couple more Marauders get chased away again.
Cure brings the rest of his army forward. There was some in the natural, but the SCV is going to go down, so the Planetary without repair should also go down. Oh, you'd think so, but no. And now the rest of the army being here is going to try and get a concave on top of this army. It's a lot of Colossus that don't have any Vikings countering it, though. So, I mean, you'd have to get through every other part of the Protoss army to get to the Colossus, which seems unlikely. So Cure, he's not quite taking the massive advantage, the massive fight in his favor that he needs to really come back from these earlier engagements. He's getting so close to doing it, though.
Stalker's getting a good position on these Liberators this time, and they might have enough numbers. A little bit of Marine Marauder from the right side is going to get a lot of the Stalkers, and now he'll chase, getting the Disruptors, and we're going to be seeing the Colossus going down as well. These Zealots need to get into the front lines ASAP. As one Colossus survives, the Bio will try and kite backwards a little bit. The Colossus is just going to say, yep, I'm out of here. Prism peels away to the side, can maybe warp in aggressively. Remember that Showtime has 7 bases against the 5, so while these fights aren't great, as long as he gets the time to rebuild a little bit, he will be able to rebuild, and he will get back into this. He just needs to give himself a breather for 1 moment or two. 10,000 resource loss difference, but Showtime's dominated the income for over 10 minutes now.
Right. And that's always going to be a conundrum for Cure. I mean, that was a good fight. That was the one that he was hoping for. He entirely pushed back the Protoss army. He can take a bit of a chill pill. But he'll never really be able to fully counter unless he takes, like, I don't know, like a 40 supply lead, right? Because then there's always going to be that remax, like instantly 12 more gateway units, and then 12 more as he buys more time. And then bringing in some storms that he had locked in his pocket, right? Like, he's always going to have trouble immediately countering and actually taking down Showtime's economy until he takes... a very, very good fight. His armor supply is actually quite even, as it's mostly with the workers. So he definitely is at that potential once again. But Showtime's not quite throwing this game away yet. I'm still so worried he's gonna really focus on this planetary. Maybe even miss the right side command center ever go up. He's got DT checking it though.
Do you have well, just Cure just kind of ping-ponging between bases at the moment, figuring out where Showtime's going to be coming from. Obviously has the sensor tower to see it coming from a distance. You go first Disruptor Shot gonna hit. A couple of SCVs again, just trying to chip away that economy. A Ghost comes forward from EMP, gets disrupted as well. It's a few units at a time at the moment.
Good to see the Vikings go out once more. He doesn't really need to go into too many of them though, because there's only one Colossus and we do not have Stargates on the way. I guess Showtime probably figuring that if he lets up the pressure, then that's when Kier can really truly come back. So he doesn't want to swap into Stargates.
Yeah.
He's gonna continue trying to just bully this army.
Missed a lot of Disruptor Shots. That could have just hit a couple of extra Ghosts there. I mean, hard to move them around when those Ghosts are moving quickly. He also had a DT on the bottom, which got a few workers that blinked away, forced some EMPs to be used. There's just so many Ghosts right now, which is where the Disruptors should really come into their own if they can connect when those Ghosts clump up. But Kier has been doing good of avoiding those Disruptor Shots so far, which is kind of so far what he's really needed.
A lot of Colossus now. Vikings can just land to help out. Not many Liberators. Oh, bottom left actually being taken. Looks like a DT was on that too, but taken care of. Oh, the planetary a little lonely now without the rest of the army prepared for
this
attacking
is
it. Yeah, okay.
It's kind of just as soon as you kind of move around the left-hand side a bit more, right? You can finally get in and pick off this planetary because, again, you're just not really in position like you have been before. Disruptor Shot. Still somehow not finding the Ghost. It's like the Ghosts are like the opposite side of that to what you're looking for. That one connects and 3 Ghosts go down as Q will continue up to the top left-hand side.
Whoa, that was so damn bold, but
yeah.
Second Disruptor gets it anyways. EMP's blanket the Archons, which is really pretty effective, but Kier just cannot replace the army. He's been barely able to replace it as this game has gone on, but Showtime probably just finally breathing a sigh of relief, like, God, that took forever. Die, Terran, die.
I mean, he played a style that meant it was going to take forever, but I think you're right. I think he felt as though if he goes Stargates, he really lets Q max out again, and it becomes so scary based on what we know Q can do, right? So Showtime deciding to play it slow, eventually ties it up 1-1. Talk about a bit of a macro map to bring us back into this. In the top right-hand side, our red Protoss player is Showtime.
In the bottom left, as the blue Terran, he is Kier.
Alrighty then, game 3 of our series, and really just, I mean, a great game number 2. But Showtime just forged a pathway in and then kind of got, a couple of roadworks in the way and kind of couldn't really follow through to end it, but just about made it there in the end. But it was tough. It was a fight. And Eternal Empire really is, like I said, that kind of map where you maybe expect the same again. It's one of those maps where it's very hard to push into 3 bases per se, so you've kind of got to go up to 4 and 5. The one thing about this map is I really feel like drop play, natural to 4th base is quite far away from each other. So maybe there's something that Q can do there to kind of be a bit more aggressive himself in the mid game, because after losing that Marine Tank Banshee force, he was kind of just behind and kind of set back, and he never really got many chances to move across. There was a drop here and a drop there, which was able to go and maybe distract Showtime's at vital points, and maybe that's why one of the CCs survived at one point, for example, but it wasn't really kind of like a commanding set of drops. It was just sort of a like, oh, make sure you do defend this here. It never really got much done.
Right, I think it was literally 2, one bigger than, the other, and then, that was during a couple of pivotal points, but you're right, like, it didn't, force him to recall, didn't force him to have to rebuild a Nexus.
Mm-hmm.
He was relatively untouched except for his distraction, which was a big part of that game. Both of them playing styles that, like, if you get distracted, you could just instantly lose, especially Showtime with the Disruptors. Disruptors can be, you try and use them, guys. Like, they're surprisingly hard to use on top of blinking, on top of controlling your Zealots from being big old derps. Colossus, okay, they're a little bit easier, let's be real, but everything else is quite difficult. So it was really a cool game from both players. It just looks a little sloppy, right? Because just so much happening. It looks like maybe Showtime should have just easily gone into Stargates, but you have to consider that maybe the old Showtime would have, and he's had that situation where he did and then ended up losing control of the situation. Because we are seeing over the past, not just year, but even longer, Showtime is trying to mix in different playstyles, different cheeses, like really get out of this stereotype that he is just the wall and that he only defends. And while, I think a year and a half ago it was actually not the best attempts, if I'm being real, he really has like started to come into it and do well against it. Because beating Kira is just definitely no small feat, especially after that first game showing his class in this matchup. That last game was extra hard for Showtime because it was Kira, but he still won it out. We do have Kira adding in now that Hellion opener I brought up. I was gonna actually like guess on this map he does this. There's just something about Eternal Empire. People love the Hellion opener, and it is that dedicated Hellion opener too, not the the one for Scout or something, but rather for 4. He might just wait to see what he can do if there's a wall in the front, which Showtime can go for, and he sees 2 extra Hellions with these Adepts, so he might just slap down the 2 gateways at the front there.
Yeah, that information of the 2 extra Hellions is nice, but it's also 2 Adepts that you then have to deal with, and ooh, if he has the target fire, he should have gotten a Hellion there, I feel. We'll get it in the end. He's already killed a couple SCVs. Now the Hellions try and dive by, but the Oracle's out to defend, so this is basically like a scouting set of Hellions, but this is a lot of Hellions to scout, right? This is 4 Hellions, and yet what have you done? Gotten information, lost 3 of the 4, and lost a couple of SCVs as well, and you've killed absolutely nothing. So for Showtime, it's the dream opening.
I wonder how much he thought it was likely Kier would do this and was already kind of prepared to combat it, but he also has probably thought about doing this build, the Adept Oracle into the natural build, just from the get-go anyways, and it worked out really well for him. So now he can actually try and attack. I think he saw... Nah, he didn't actually see the Cyclone, but that's a good follow-up for the Terran, so he knows there's probably going to be a Cyclone. He's got to be careful not to get locked onto his Oracles. His Adepts pounce on the army, no bunker, or then the Cyclone, I think it already used its lock on, so it's not going to grab the Oracles. Wasted on an Adept. The Oracles live. Only 2 SCVs went down. Definitely not as bad as it could have been.
And now we're going to see that kind of Viking Cyclone push from Kira that we talked about a little bit last game as one of the options you can go for if you know it's a Stargate, which he kind of obviously did. So coming across the map, Showtime doesn't have a lot here right away. He's got 3 gates, but he's not got a lot of units because he's been losing a couple of Adepts. Now he's warping in some Stalkers. The Oracle here going to try and set up a stasis wall. There's 2 Vikings and a Cyclone show up. He just wasn't expecting this to show up so quickly. Because now these Stalkers will come in. The thing is, if these Vikings land once they dealt with the Oracles, the Vikings do a lot against Stalkers as well. For the moment, it looks like he might just take them to the main base and try and kill some workers. So that's also a good use of the Vikings. 2 Vikings will one-shot a probe, so it's a good little harassment method if you don't really see the fight going your way at the front. And, Kira still kind of yet to be determined. He's going to try and go up the natural here, perhaps take the fight away from the 2 shield batteries on the 3rd base.
He has waited a pretty long time for Showtime to get at least another warp in, so I think just now Showtime can take on the army, even without the shield batteries. Of course, it depends on how the Cyclones work out, but they have to go up ramps on this map, so it's not working out super well. Spoke too soon. 2 lock-ons on 2 Stalkers.
Yeah,
both of them.
Stays locked on. It's one of the Cyclones at least, as he does actually have a shield battery in this natural, so it's working for the moment, this defense. These Marines get a little stuck, and they will go down across the map. The Oracle shows up, there's no anti-air, so the aggressive Oracle is actually going to get a bunch of SCVs here, delaying some of the barracks, and right now might even get a siege tank kill. There's no repair to kind of save this tank, and I think it's a priority to get rid of that. There's only a couple of Marines, so you can kill it off, maybe even get another SCV. That's a really nice counter-attacking Oracle.
Yeah, and the Cyclones, rather than sacrifice for a couple of more units, decided they're better off just staying at home. Kira did take a very fast 3rd. I think behind this, the push was also the scouting. He wanted to punish a potentially greedy 3rd. It was, but Showtime with good control and just, good awareness of the shield batteries. Really a lot of smart things happening between 2 players that ends up being kind of a breather moment, just like, okay, evaluate what's going on. And as we evaluate, 3CC to 3 Nexus, that sounds good, but Kira is still down 17 workers. Showtime was able to, I guess, probe throughout the entire push, feeling comfortable enough, and now on to his way to double Colossus once again. Actually, very similar follow-up to that last game.
Yeah. Showtime getting into a very strong position here overall, right? It's, again, exactly kind of where he wants to be, and this time he goes into a more comfortable position than he went into on the last game, I think, right? Maybe not, actually. He did kind of do well against the Siege Tank Banshee push, but then it kind of started to escape away from him a little bit. So let's see what he does now. Maybe he's in the same position now as he was in the last game, or maybe even a little bit better. But it really was, around this time where he started making a couple of attacks that kind of gave Kira a bit of an advantage back or so.
And he still even has the one Oracle for scouting that barely survived that last game. It certainly feels very similar. Like, even the amount that Kira is able to drop in the mid game seems rather low. Even though he starts to kind of push out here, he doesn't really commit to it. He does have Stim and Combat Shields, but he doesn't have anywhere close to 1-1. And Showtime has actually fit in double upgrades, where I believe last game he did, one, then another one. So he was always a little bit off kilter. And he was even down an upgrade at one point. Now he should be ahead, especially if he puts any Chronos into it, which I think he should, because otherwise he seems pretty okay. He's got Colossus against not a lot of Vikings once again. Although this game, Kira prioritizes the second starport over the Ghost Academy.
Yeah, he's going to go Vikings way before he goes Ghosts this time, which maybe is something that works a bit better as well, right? Because it was quite... Showtime's response last time was very good, right? He went Colossus first, obviously, and then he went Disruptors way before Templar, which is much better against, someone who's going Ghost. Against the Vikings, you still maybe want to get a Disruptor or two, but Templar might be a bit more of a priority because those Storms to help zone the Templar out. Yeah, Stalkers do a great job, but later in the game, Storms to zone out the Vikings, just really become almost essential. That way the Vikings can't just continuously throw shots down on the Colossus.
Yeah, absolutely. There's two things that can really help against those Vikings, and that's Stalkers and certainly the Storms, which also have that range that Archon doesn't quite have. Especially because there's a lot of instances on Eternal Empire where you get kind of awkward around these ramps, and the Colossus do kind of, follow into a Viking, or the Vikings have this little, exactly where you're just at, actually, that the Xel'Naga, they can shoot over it. So that is important to protect the Colossus, but in a weird way, Showtime was, Showtime used his Colossus like he knew he would dispose of them eventually, Like, he was like, okay, they got their shots in and they died, and that sucks, but that's okay. I want to go into this other type of play, which is exactly what he's doing again, down to the Dark Shrine, the DT Blink.
Yeah.
It just is going to better upgrades this time.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. I actually love the DTs and the DT Blink. It almost just says I'm going to play macro, and I want to be like a very aggressive macro player, though, right? Like, I want to be harassing you, I want to be counterattacking when you move across the map, that kind of thing. And for me, that's like, hell yeah, let's do this, because I think Showtime did a very good job of it last time. There was multiple times like a DT showed up, killed like 10 workers, and then scan came down, he just blinked out of it and forced another scan, or like goes to waste DMPs. That's the kind of thing that's obviously very, very frustrating to deal with as It's those little things, and if you invest into it now and have it ready from the start, it just increases your chances to get one or two of those DTs, which can do a lot of damage.
It's a very annoying upgrade. I think, Showtime is maybe starting the trend here. He's being a little bit of a hipster. Well, no, he's opposite of hipster. He's starting the trend. Sorry, everyone else is going to be the hipster. There we go. Going to be doing nothing but DT Blink in the future.
So do you see the Refinery getting picked off? The Command Center taking some damage here. There's not a plan before us yet, so it's the perfect time for Showtime to really be taking a fight, but he's about to get surrounded. The Bio Army from the right side. Showtime's backing away towards the ramp, and he has the force fields to help him survive it as well. It's just what he needed in that moment, because that was a scary little kind of flank in from Kua. And Showtime deals with it perfectly, pulling himself away and putting himself in a much better position now.
Pretty sick engagement, because that absolutely could have been a disaster, but I think he just barely got a glimpse of the right side army at the exact right time to prepare for it. And even keeps 3 of his Colossus alive while taking down a lot of those Vikings. Kira just kind of let his Vikings chase after it a bit unnecessarily. Love the idea with the bunker. Just a little late to the repair, so still annoying. Showtime takes another base while this goes on, and adds on 3-3, and adds on the Templar Archives. All while pressuring even a single DT, noticing, no Raven this game, right? And no missile turret. That's going to be fixed now, but Showtime is really applying the pressure so much that Kira... Yeah, there is not even a push with the bio yet, really, right? It was all about the defense so far.
DT's going to move up there, and that's a really nice spot from Kira as well to see those DTs, scans it immediately. And the DTs just blink away. And yeah, just enhanced shockwaves coming up from Kira to really power up those ghosts with Showtime still staying on the offensive. He's going to try and push up this ramp. I mean, ramps are always not going to be your friend in, PvT, right? You spread out a little bit as the Templar and you defend this quite nicely, but as far as Showtime is concerned, he's just testing the waters. Is there an army here? Yes. Is there an army there? Yes. just make sure Kyo keeps rotating around, because the more you do that, the more chance you have, of course, as well, of just pulling Kyo out of position. And maybe it also just sets up your potential to run DTs elsewhere as well as you move those armies around.
The combination of an entire Protoss army and potentially up to 60 Ts with Blink elsewhere is it's frightening. But Kira is trying to stay on top of it, and I do love his use of this map. He's blocking off almost like he would versus Zerg, and just tackling the army when he sees it. And harassment might do a couple of SCVs here and there. It's not going to kill him. And he's even doing a good job with the army. But yeah, he's not being able to push out. It looks like Showtime this game is so confident in his position. It's not as scrappy. He's not thrown, his Colossus away for sure this game. That he's going into those Stargates, which should be the killing blow. As he can add them in slowly, he can add them in surely, like he's going to be on the front line here. Sure, he's still trading out here and there, but honestly, that could have just been room to make Tempest.
Yeah, it's really just a difference to the last game. Last game it was scrappy, it was slow from Showtime, you couldn't really get anywhere. This time, yeah, he's not taking any more major fights. Resource loss is actually in his favor rather than Q's. And he's once again mining more, so it's a much better position, and it just gives him that confidence. Not even Tempest, by the way, Carriers. Carriers is the real I'm ahead move, right? Like, if you just want a way to kind of deal with the ranged liberators, you absolutely go in towards Tempest, right? You pick all those, pick off ranged liberators, you get 5 or 6 Tempest, you can one-shot them. You can kind of push back the Siege of the Terran. But Carriers are like, oh yeah, I've got all the time in the world, they take a while to build, but it doesn't matter because I'm slowly trading out into so many of them. And something like Liberators, they just don't really do much against the Carriers. They do pretty well against the Interceptors in terms of like a bit of splash damage added in. But you really need to make sure you've got the Viking count to really shut down the carrier count, otherwise it's going to get out of hand very quickly.
That's a good sum of why you would go for one or the other, but I'm also just still stuck in like 2018, and I think carriers, just aren't made anymore. It was always Tempest back then until the carriers got changed again. They have gone through a couple of different iterations. But also, yeah, what you said, totally. You can actually get the interceptors up when you're not being constantly pressured. Kira finally gets something on the other side of the map, which is great. Showtime like instantly canceled as soon as he saw it. He has his own attack hitting the space, but the army is very close to it, so not going to be able to grab it. DT might get some more damage done, sure. Showtime either going to clean up that bio on the top left entirely, it looks like.
Traded quite well against the army in the bottom right, even though Showtime, right? Like, actually got like quite a little bit of Marine Marauder for the Zealots he sent in. Again, Kira's got the money to max out, but 5 carriers building at a time. Showtime, even if these 5 carriers finish, he's going to be on 7. That's already a really reasonable number to maybe try and take a fight with or so. Starts to take the top left-hand base as well, going beyond the 5 bases into base number 6. This is where it really does become more of a struggle to hold bases on this map. It's kind of interesting that Kira takes this bottom right base as well, but that's just because Showtime's been so putting on so much pressure around these forward positions in front of the 3rd and the natural. It's been very hard for him to take the regular 5th base. But that drags him out just so far away from the left side. He's going to have to be really on top of keeping track of where Showtime is and moving his army to deal with it.
Showtime even went to double Semedex core, and shields do affect every single Protoss unit, guys. So really well upgraded carrier is gonna pop in Kira's face, and Kira did scan it, so it's not gonna be nearly as much of a surprise. He was also already kind of preparing for it. I think his Viking count's got up pretty high. He was building 6 Vikings as he scanned. So, but to have that mental preparation to not just let the Protoss army get back on top of your ramp is really important. I do strongly believe that Kira can still take a really good engagement even against that supreme late game Protoss army, because he's certainly seen it. This army is still hard to control for Showtime, even as carriers get maybe a little bit easier, and a concave could still go disastrous for him with good focus fire from the Vikings, which are going to be they're going to have their own pretty good upgrades. Actually going into +3 attack here, and then we're going to have nukes, which is really exciting. So nukes are going to distract Showtime, potentially letting Kira get that huge surround like you would want.
Yeah, first nuke already on the way up. That's really going to make this very... it's going to make it pretty dangerous for Showtime. You're going to have to, like, really pay a lot of attention back at home, and that's not something we've really seen from Showtime this game, as he's now just going to say, yep, don't want the Colossus anymore even. Gets rid of a couple of those, frees up more supply, more carriers on the way out.
I mean, I don't think this is the case, but I'm just saying I hope Showtime isn't getting overconfident with the carriers.
Yeah.
I don't think so. He knows that Kira's being able to expand again. He knows Kira's being able to max out. Very unlike last game. So he should still be noting how the composition should look. Because it's not just about getting Kira's and winning. Absolutely not. Look at this air army. Kira is also getting to that really ultimate late game army of Terran, which includes very little bio, actually. It's Viking, Liberator, Ghost, with like maybe enough bio to do drops, really.
But it's going to be scary, though, because Showtime, if he loses this army, it doesn't get rebuilt. It just, first of all, it takes way too long to rebuild it. It's also just super expensive. As he sees the Ghost, he's going to cancel a nuke. That's nicely done. Finds a second Ghost as well. Fight's going to break out, actually, as we're going to see the High Templar gets EMP'd, so no Storm coming down, which would have been amazing against those Vikings. Storm from the left side also denied. The Marauders just stopping every single High Templar getting into range, and, well, Kira just absolutely jumps on Showtime's army and kills off absolutely everything.
So...
yeah. Kind of like what I was just saying. You don't really rebuild an army like that, so...
yeah. I mean, I do think Showtime was like, I gotta make sure not to be silly about this, and it was just one of those like, oh, his army's over there. Oh, no. But, yeah, that was the exact disaster I was talking about that can happen in some of the more confident games for Protoss, I suppose. Yeah, the Terran army actually is very scary when it gets to the size that it was for Kira.
It's one of the scenarios where you just need storms to actually drop down, right?
Yeah.
And there was just no storms dropping down at all, right? Like, the High Templar got killed on the right side or got EMP'd. The ones from the left got target fired by the bio, brought units forwards to target them before they got in range of the Vikings. And that was big. I mean, Showtime rebuilds, but the army comp is nowhere near what it was. This is quite literally Zealots and Stalkers right now, and you can just see he drops like 40 supply and Kira barely loses anything at all. Again, fighting without the High Templar here. As the Ghosts come forwards looking for the EMPs, those Ghosts are fast as they chase down High Templars and hit an EMP on it, and now going to pick off the Disruptor too, and he can just move into the natural, maybe the main, shut down production.
Carrier harassment's not going to save him, I don't think. A good Disruptor hit might, so this Disruptor's going to be target fired down before it can take a shot. The Vikings are, you know, kind of quote-unquote useless, so a big Gateway army might be able to hold here, because the Liberators were also either not... They were taken... Oh, I think they were just late to the party. They were just still sieged up. So they're a little late to the party. They may get targeted down, too. In fact, many of them will.
Yeah.
It looks like it might just be a hold here for Showtime.
Yeah, he will hold this off. I mean, when the Vikings land, right, that's maybe the issue, that Showtime's army is suddenly very ground-focused. So by making it so ground-focused, suddenly the Vikings don't do great, and if the Liberators aren't there, then your actual air-to-ground army is just kind of shut down a little bit. So Showtime comes straight across the map. He's going to come in, and he's going to get rid of this command center, at least stop it from mining for a little bit. He is still taking an extra base on his upper left side. He's killed a few SCVs here. The carriers did okay as well. They get out alive. And Showtime is kind of making this happen because he's forcing a very different army now out of Kira that Kira just didn't initially have. And obviously, if you can rely on Disruptors a little bit, anything is kind of possible. But it really is still just overall lower tech than where you want to be. There's 8 High Templar, and they need to make themselves known in these fights as well. Because I still think we're yet to see a fight where there's really been like an overly successful storm.
Yeah, it's not happened yet. Showtime almost winning this or keeping in the game at the very least. I'd still say he's winning it. Just by tech swapping, really, which is very frustrating for the Terran. Even though their banks were similar beforehand, Kira is starting to get depleted as he maxes out and does expand. He will get back up there, but he's got to be careful. He's already faced this competition once and lost to it last game. So he knows how deadly it can be, but he thinks he has an opportunity here. Disruptor on the right side. It's the last one. Doesn't get a good shot. Big concave coming through for Kira as he sees an opportunity. He really wants those Disruptors. He's going to grab the one on the farthest side. Grab that 1, 2, 3, all down. What does Showtime have behind this as his army just has to run away? Yeah,
it's just pure Zealot Stalker if the Disruptors on up. Plus the High Templars. Oh, another Disruptor fires and walks into the army as well. It just means that, I mean, Showtime still has a big bank, but resources lost. We mentioned how Showtime was kind of maybe a bit ahead in resources lost earlier. Now he is behind and trailing. And while that's okay if you mine more bases than your opponent, like you did on Ephemeron, that's not going to last forever here on Eternal Empire, because Kira's mined off a lot of bases as well. As it looks like the first nuke here is absolutely going to land, albeit just on a cannon or two. Second nuke is in the main base and is going to start nuking down production. So that's very frustrating to deal with. Some production being knocked offline, gates taking damage. That's something that adds up over time.
Again with the carrier harassment. Some Zealots attempting with DTs to get on top of the planetary, but he would have needed all of those units to even try and get that planetary. It is fully upgraded. Building armor and high-sec auto tracking. Showtime letting the Terran army inside of his natural now makes the, oh god, his own defensive ramp working against him. Storms do hit this time, but there are the EMPs, and the Liberators are just in fantastic position, fully upgraded as well. This did not go nearly as well as that last fight around the natural, and it might actually be just game.
Yeah, there's still Liberators firing here towards the end of this, as finally Showtime starts to break through. Warping in some extra cells to try and tank. He is still the play with minerals and gas in the bank, so as he cleans up, he can rebuild. But that involves also making sure you keep your production alive, and right now that Ghost is making that a little bit tricky as well, as this main base is just a Sim City of production. 15 gates working. I mean, he needs them based on what he's trying to build and what he's trying to do here. You said it though, right? The EMPs came down, High Templars got shut down, and all the tech is just dying every single time from Showtime. Like right now, he has 1 Disruptor and 3 High Templar, and that just is not enough to really fight this Terran army.
Yeah, I think, you know, by now he's thrown away that lead he had, the economy, the resource loss trades. Like, he has thrown that away, and if that's going to continue on like it has, then it's absolutely going to be Kira winning this game. He is now favored in the army supply. He's got some decent bases up. These Liberators are caught by surprise. No Ghosts immediately either, but they're +3 Liberators. They're still ripping through all the Stalkers.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, the Storms were good, the Disruptors were good. And yet it still doesn't quite really matter as Showtime again a little bit late to pull the Disruptor away, so it's going to go down. I had to go and deal with the top left-hand side Liberator at the same time to stop it killing any further workers as well. Showtime is fighting until the very, very end. He has another Disruptor shot, forces a couple of Ghosts to lift up and drop back down again, but it kind of feels as though this is kind of on its way out, right? I mean, Showtime's just not able, he doesn't have that bank anymore, so he's not able to rebuild anywhere near in the same kind of numbers as he was previously, and that was really why he stayed in the game after taking a few bad fights. Now Showtime's in a lot of trouble.
Big difference is those Liberators actually shining through, you know, getting into +2 never happened, I think, last game, and that's the kill shot difference, and then +3 is literally here in this game. So that's a big difference, and just them actually getting sieged up against a lower number of Stalkers than is really ideal, because Showtime's not maxed. Double nukes coming down, EMP even on top of the Nexus, so no recall, I guess, but also the shield should have been taken down.
Yeah, is this nuke gonna land on...
That's gonna be pretty good nuke.
Yeah, kind of like scarce the edge of Showtime's army as well, so just doing a bit more damage, and Kira is maxed out. If you buy units, still trying to press forwards here, the army of Showtime coming back around the top, and just gonna see another Disruptor shot or two coming in towards this bio.
Army supply of 40, almost 50 difference. That's okay. Disruptors have got to get amazing shots now. And Liberators have to be out of the equation, I think. Yeah, not gonna be able to tackle this base until Kira moves again. It is just an orbital, so when the Liberators move to take an inevitable main army fight, that's when a couple Zealots are gonna be really nasty over there. But Kira, that's not even like, he still has 3 other pretty fresh bases to mine from, even if that is denied.
I mean, at least Showtime's got the Disruptor count back up. It's on 8, which is something, right? Like, before, like, recently, like, he really just had nothing in terms of splash damage. Now at least the Disruptor's up, although loses 1 there. There's so much bio in this army, which is maybe worth mentioning as well. There's only 3 Ghosts left over here from Kira, and 7 Liberators, so his army's not exactly, like, teched up as much as it used to be. But when Kira is mining a base you expect Showtime to have, that's when maybe problems really do arise.
Yeah. He needed to get Zealots into the back, which would be possible with the War Prism, I suppose. It is most of the Liberators defending that. So this is Showtime finally maxed out again. This is probably the last remax we'll see. So this is maybe where you can take a good fight, but it's all about the Disruptors. There's no Storms, there's no Colossus. There's not even any sentries so that the army can't kite for days, right?
Yeah.
So it feels like an army that's not really bound to do very much unless it catches Kira, like, stuck somewhere.
He even just eats some EMPs as this initial army moves around the top side trying to do something. Goes trying to chase for another EMP there. Showtime might be able to get his way towards the natural expansion. A 6-slot bunker, don't see that every day. That gets taken down to start, so he's going to at least maybe take this fight on his own terms, right? And pushing into a Protoss who has Disruptors can be dangerous. Showtime just decides to back away. I love this from Kira, just dropping the top left. There's not really any sort of army to realistically keep Showtime in the game against like multi-pronged harassment, right? And That's what we're kind of starting to see. Some Stalkers over here are able to push the Liberators back. Some Zealots charge in, but now the Libs just relocate. And so, yeah, these Stalkers are still not looking pretty with the SCV surrounding.
Yeah, he didn't notice the repositioning fast enough. If he did, I think that actually might be a lot of damage done. But as it is, not too much, but more damage on this side. As the Protoss army gets into the third base, some nice Disruptor shots as well. Cure was forced to tackle the army of Disruptors aggressively, which is where Disruptors really shine. But is it good enough? It might just be Showtime leading the army supply right now.
I really feel Showtime needs to go and stop Cure from producing though, right? Because look at what Cure can rebuild. He's got so much money. And Showtime is so close to the production. Problem is, it's probably already just too much up on this high ground. EMPs the Disruptors. He's going to get, oh, so nearly one of the kills already. But any damage you deal to Disruptors like this is going to be kind of permanent, right? Because now it's just so much more easy or so much more quickly targeted down when it comes to, oh, do I target fire or do I not sort of scenario. As we're going to be seeing this base over here will go down. Cure loses a base, which, again, maybe he should have never really had. Cure's out of money as they remax to equal army supplies. Or not remaxing, but rebuilding to equal army supplies. Cure's army is so medevac heavy as well. There's like 10 medevacs here. So that's great for the bio, but it's also a lot of the supply that's not helping in straight up fighting mode. I mean, here we go. Disruptor shots need to be big right now, and they will be big to kind of just even push these units back a little bit. Stalkers need to be careful. Yeah, there's a lot of Liberators, but they're very far to the south, so they're not even in the best of positions. The thing is, Cure overall is taking that army supply lead back as Showtime's just trying to escape away. If he can just survive, maybe he can mine up a little bit more, because he does have more workers now, but I'm not even sure if he has the base to use all of those workers.
Okay. I think every time that the fight really goes well for Cure is whenever those Stalkers try to engage those Liberators. There's that... Like, the reason Cure didn't have that much of a bank, well, now he doesn't because he lost a bunch of bases, but was that he rebuilt 6 Liberators at a time. And whenever those all siege up to protect each other, I actually think that Stalker just cannot. I mean, it's more than 6 Liberators now. It's 9. You cannot take that on with even, like, a fully maxed out Stalker army, I bet. Like, it's just insane how much damage they'll do as you even blink in. It's too much to handle when those are sieged. When they're not sieged, then it's Showtime's favor with all those Disruptor hits. That's the situation we're at right now. The guy who needs to siege up preemptively versus the guy who can be a lot more mobile. And Showtime knows that. He's absolutely trying to take advantage of it. If he can take down some of these planetary bases, then Cure will really have no mining. It's already pretty bad. I guess he's just super oversaturated in one base.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere along. Yeah, 31/8 on the 4th. I mean,
oh, jeez.
Yeah, so his economy is just really not quite what he wants it to be. It's been very back and forth, and Showtime getting new bases up, it's actually just a ridiculous game. I mean, I love that Showtime's now mining, or going to try and mine that base of Cure, which Cure is trying to mine of Showtime. What's so interesting in that scenario is he just escaped the Liberator sieges. What's so interesting about that is, obviously, Cure's not really put too much pressure on the left side, bar that one drop, so it really is a base he might be able to even keep up here as Showtime.
Unfortunately, even going into any area right now, Carriers or Tempest would just make his army too slow to combat this, but he really can't tackle the Liberators. He can't even... Okay, he finally gets 1. He tries to get 2, but then loses 3 or 4 Stalkers for it. Not worth it.
Gets the Disruptor shot, though, on the Marauders.
That's true. But yeah, he can't even grab a Liberator as they siege. That's just how deadly they are. Ah, yikes.
This is crazy. This all happened after that fight of Showtime where he lost all those carriers. And here we are at 32 minutes with... Really, I mean, this game is balanced on a knife edge. It could go either way. You're really just looking at like one misplayed fight from either side. And this game completely changes. Gonna come in towards this planetary forest. Yeah, Medevac's kind of on their own here. The army of Cure is kind of kiting away into a corner against some of the Zealots, which are running on the right-hand side. Too many Medevacs there, so the Zealots have to pull back. Loses this planetary, which is just one of those bases. Loses workers that weren't really mining anyways, so... I mean, maybe they could have gone to the bottom right instead, but wasn't, you know, it's not the biggest immediate loss here for Cure, who now kind of has the position to maybe make his way towards Showtime's base. If he does that, that's an issue. Showtime coming down the bottom. If he picks off some orbitals, maybe you take away some scans and maybe DTs can come into play again. I mean, there's a lot of orbitals, there's a lot of scan energy on the map, don't get me wrong. But, you know, every single orbital you pick off is one step closer to maybe making that work, and even just taking away some of the mules that can keep Cure in the economy game.
Yeah, still at 4 orbitals. He's not quite at the situation yet.
Yeah.
Now down to 3, but you're right. He's absolutely getting close. But a big surround. Disruptors on the right side. Liberators on the right side. Sieging up. Disruptors have got to get out of there. The Stalkers try and take down what they can before they blink out. But into Bio, forced to recall. That huge surround going so damn well for Cure. Showtime finally making that mistake by being too overly aggressive, too mobile, getting himself surrounded. Now even going to lose more army, more probes, and his Nexus. Was that it? Was that actually how Showtime throws this game?
Yeah, it looks as though it might be another disruptor shot coming in, and they will get good connections on the Marauders to clean up, to bring it back a little bit. We are actually only at 2 Marauders and 9 Marines on the map. There is almost more medevacs than singular bio units, as the Liberator count is huge but not being utilized. The Liberator sieging up the base in the top left and the far left is why Showtime's lost so many probes in recent times, and that lack of income is really maybe what's killing Showtime right now, because he doesn't have mining on any of his other bases apart from this one right here on like the kind of upper left side, and without being able to rebuild anything extra, he really is in some trouble. He has what, one Phoenix from earlier in this game that he's still using. He's killed off like 2 different Liberators with that now, as he is killing SCV somewhere as well. He's got a DT over on the right-hand side, which is where the mules have all just dropped down. Q just so far ahead in army supply compared to what we've seen before, though.
It's a little funny because it is Liberators and Medevacs for the most part, right? So Disruptors are trying to find good, juicy hits, but there's like really not any because there's not a lot of units.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's an army that he can beat if he can take it apart. If the Liberators aren't sieged or they're flying over somewhere and the Blinkstalker's on top of them. But that so far hasn't happened. Cure's done one great thing right now, or not right now, the past 5-7 minutes, is that he's kept his Liberator count as high as it should be to continue doing what he's doing. He's not let them just all get picked off one by one. He's let his Medevacs occasionally have that happen to them, but not his Liberators. And that's his ticket to win this game. And if he can get on top of Showtime's production, that'll certainly be it. He's already reduced the economy to basically 0 by killing the base here. And that's actually better than maybe the production, right? Showtime can build like 3 more Stalkers, and that's literally it. It's a base trade.
Yeah, it's a base trade you don't win, right? Because the Liberators eventually just siege up somewhere, and you've also got Planetary Fortresses you've got to kill, which isn't exactly fun in this kind of scenario. Libs on their way down here to try and defend this. I mean, it is just like a ridiculous game. The Liberator's going to siege up the Stalkers, go for one of them, and then don't have the blinks to get away, which just means their numbers get reduced as well, and that's the issue. You just don't have the anti-air here as Showtime to realistically keep getting this. There's one Liberator that goes down a little bit too, as it goes a little bit too far forwards. But a bio around the upper right. I mean, some of these libs are pretty low now. Showtime's going to recall his way out of the corner. Leaves one Zealot behind accidentally. But yeah, he's just got no mining bar long distancing, and he's just got, you know, a tiny little bit of gas left over. Q is mining the left-hand side, which will give him a couple extra Marines. And that's going to be big for him as well, as this army over on the right side. Q is going to try and maybe take a fight. He's going to grab a Zealot to start. Disruptor shot going to go center on the bio, though. He's going to kill so much of it. Oh my god. Now Showtime blinks forwards and takes down so much more. There's still 20 bio units on the map, and he basically needs to take that fight against Showtime to still make this work.
He needs to deny that bottom right base from mining too, because that's what's actually increased the bio count to what it's now like a decent one, because a minute and a half ago it really wasn't. Long distance mining, that's better than nothing.
It's literally all he can do though, right? Like, he doesn't have much else. 5 Liberators left in the game. How many Disruptors left? The 4, so you really can't afford to lose many more of those either. He sees this mining over here, so I think he realizes he kind of needs to do something on this base. Liberators are already kind of set up towards it, though. Can he maybe somehow slow push the Disruptors forwards? Because the Disruptor count is kind of the count at which you can sort of keep on firing at bio units to keep them back. As Disruptor's going to get dove on, though, and now going to try and fight to save them. Showtime loses 2, 3, and soon it'll be 4. The DT comes in, but there should still be at least one orbital with a scan somewhere, right? Doesn't matter. GG from Showtime as Cure takes game 3 at the 37-minute marker to close this out. But you can stand up, but it's so difficult after a game like that where you controlled the first 15, even 20 minutes. And even when it got scrappy, you so nearly managed to make it happen. Top left-hand side. Our blue Terran player is Cure.
In the bottom right, as the red Protoss, he is Showtime. And I'm with you. I think anyone is weak to that type of loss, where they're just like, God, I can't get over thinking about that. Like, so many things are done differently. And it takes a lot of mental fortitude just to kind of wipe your mind clean of that game. And then also to get into a similar situation and not have it pop up back in your brain. You know, like it's one thing to be like, just focus on your build, just do your thing. And then 10 minutes in, be like, oh no, it's the same situation. To just like completely disregard the games is really, really tough to do. And there's also maybe a little bit of fear, you know? Showtime played what is gonna be like an 80% really clean game. Like I'd say like 100% clean game for the first 12 minutes of last game, up until the carriers, basically. And then to still have it fall apart is also just really, really brutal. So it can get into a similar situation, very possibly. Kier so far trying to do some type of aggressive maneuvers and not really having them work out. Still getting very long games, even off the back of tank pushes.
It was just, yeah. I don't know, don't even know what to say right now. Just watching this probe fight, this CC. Just trying to think what you even do is Showtime right now. What do you even open? It's gonna be pretty interesting as that Cybercore comes up. We get this set to go. Simulacrum is like that really defensive 3-base map, so yeah, you can't really push in very easily. Like Showtime was, it's kind of the same as Eternal Empire in that sense, right? Like you can't really push into 3 bases as easily, but it doesn't really give itself that kind of super late stage feeling that Eternal Empire does either. So 4 bases, 5 bases definitely gets a bit scarier. So that's something we could look at here as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of that game on Eternal Empire that could have been different if the ramps were more accessible for Showtime's army, as he was, you know, definitely a little more aggressive, had more opportunities to combat here on a more literally even playing field, not going up ramps in the previous map before that. So yeah, which I've already forgotten what it was. Ephemeron, there we go.
Yeah.
So that's something that this map could also change up for sure.
Well, Twilight Council setting up from Showtime in the back of this main base, so he is going to go in towards a Twilight opener. Give him a nice little setup to kind of change it up, right? We've not really seen a Twilight. We saw like Twilight on that first game on Nightshade where he proxied and went Dark Shrine, but this is much more of like maybe just moving in towards Blink. It's a pretty early sentry. He has one Stalker. Yeah, maybe just like a Blink opening, kind of going from there. Seeing what you can do exactly. Look at this though from Kira. Drops down the armory. So if I'm not mistaken, this should just be like fast drilling claws. Don't think there's anything else you really do with this armory unless you go like super mad and make a Thor early game, which, you know, then I'm just amazed. I've got no clue what's going on.
It's actually Rifkin taking over Kira's keyboard. Yeah, I'm guessing drilling claws as well. Something that when you see an armory, it might take you a moment to be like, oh, right, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not very popular. But you would still figure it out. So you want to hide that armory. You'd still also, I think, figure it out if you saw the tech lab moving. But since Showtime's not going for a Stargate build, it's very unlikely he'll see that.
Yeah, the one, he does have a Hallucinate Phoenix coming through though, right? So that early sentry showing up is going to be giving him that information that he would otherwise be missing. So that's why he builds that sentry early in the game. As he comes on through, sets up and looks around. And he's just going to see, well, you know, Drilling Claws is on the way through there. So Drilling Claws coming up as the Phoenix moves his way back down the left. And the Cyclone of Cure coming back around towards the front, locks onto a Stalker. And in the end is going to get pushed away. So yeah, just nice scouting in the end for Showtime, right? He sees the tech lab spinning, which should give him a bit of an idea. He has a robo, so he can get the observer out, and that's going to be important to clean up those Widow Mines after they first drop, right? Because that's one of the big things Drilling Claws does, apart from giving you that faster burrow. I feel like Showtime, it comes down to execution now. He absolutely has the tools he needs to defend this and to deal with it. But it really does come down to just actually pulling probes away at the right time. Blinking Stalkers in to shoot down Medivacs. You know, Blink maybe using Blink Stalker Micro to avoid some Widow Mine shots as well.
It really changes up how you engage with it, because a simple Widow Mine drop is relatively simple. Pull probes, jump on Medevac. A Widow Mine with Drilling Claws is like you pull probes and then you actually kind of have to wait, because if you jump on the Medevac, they'll be burrowed and they'll kill your Stalkers, which is in some scenarios even better, especially because it's a higher chance they get that second shot. You know, the Observer's not actually bothering to stay at home. So it's got that bigger potential for sure to do more damage. With the main base already attacked, has already been handled perfectly. 0 probes dead, and Observer with Stalkers. That's a great start.
Yeah, no, it really is. As you do see the rest of the Stalkers going back up the upper right side. A couple of engineering bays dropping down from Cure. This is like nothing done at all, right? So first medevac, 2 Widowmine's dead, and you just like, so far your early investment here from Cure does nothing. And it is an expensive investment. And if you find the armory as Showtime, you also kill that off. It means you have to rebuild an armory for 2-2 as well. Let's see if he does. He's kind of positioned quite nicely up on the right. And the main base, the next Widowmine drop comes in. There's nothing immediately in position, so it will burrow, and we'll probably be able to get like a... Well, actually, Stalker's just going to blink micro out of it. Oh, maybe left that a little bit too late. As the Stalker's trying to chase for the medevac kill, he will get that medevac, sorry. As the Widowmine gets one probe. It's a really good opening defense from Showtime. So mining time lost, but that is absolutely it.
It's a beautiful opener. He really should have lost at least 4 probes with 4 Widowmines, so that's pretty bad. Now, you really should not underestimate the power of Drilling Claws for these follow-up builds, and wow. Wait, that's 8 barracks in total.
Yeah.
He just jumped up to 8 barracks. I know he's a 3rd CC, but that's really uncommon, guys. This is weird.
I'm trying to think why. Like,
is he just actually not going to take his 3rd CC?
Well, I mean, he has 57 workers. Like, he already has the workers to take the 3rd CC, right? So, like, maybe he cuts worker production now, but he should still move out to it. And then he just, I mean, he's definitely all in on 1-1, right? It must be. His Widowmine comes in for 3 probes. Yeah, I think it's just all in on 1-1, and you just kind of have that 3rd base as a bit of, like, extra income to kind of boost it more so than just, like, a 2-base economy. I just don't really like it because I feel like he didn't do the damage early enough to really make it work.
Question mark? Yeah, for sure. The Drilling Claws as part of the army fight might trip up Showtime, but I'm less concerned about that now as I am about the massive amount of barracks. There are some, like, quote-unquote fake 3rds, like Protoss did it, Terrans can do it too, where you do get the 3rd, and you do stop at 52 workers, I want to say. But you're right, like, he already went above and beyond that, and he's still building SCVs, so this was just... I mean... Did he miss macro as well? Does builds get messed up? And just like they're to use their minerals, like,
Yeah, maybe.
You tell people in Diamond League, like.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, right? Like, you just sort of say, oh, I've got extra minerals, I may as well spend them, and you just build up 8 racks. And I mean, his work accounts, his 3rd CC's moving over now, so you'll be able to use that. But he's just so late to take the 3rd base as well. Like, it's been sitting around for a long time and not moving out, and he's just had so many oversaturated workers on the natural because of that.
So I guess it just turns into literal mass bio. With Widowmines, okay, sure, but the point is, like, not Ghosts and not Starport.
Yeah.
Or a significant delay on those things anyways. Which, does that really work? I mean, you'd think, like, the past however many years of PvT being the way it is.
I feel like it's one of those things which sort of works for, like... It may work in, like, one game if you catch your opponent off. It's really like the swell of units that I think he's relying on here. I'm just not convinced the Widowmines early did enough to slow Showtime down enough to then give him that swell of units. I mean, he doesn't have any medevacs for this army, so it's actually just pushed back instantly, and Showtime completely defends this attack from Cure. So
weird.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of Widowmines still kind of hanging back, but he's already on 4 Colossus against pure bio, so it's hard to push in on this map. It's not hard to push in when it's pure bio and you've got ranged Colossus that can shoot the bio down, right? As Cure might just go around and sort of base trade this. I mean, his army in the bottom left is almost set up to kind of run in for this around. I mean, it's just a very weird situation to kind of figure out what Cure wants to do here. He is up in supply, but he's up in a much worse set of supply because, again, there's no real tech in this army. Loses
Maybe
11
he
workers.
was hoping / expecting a gateway-based army.
Yeah, and then you
just, like,
overwhelm.
Yeah, you can overwhelm, you can kite it, whereas with Colossus, you just are like, you wait on the high ground in your base, and you're like, okay, you come to me. That's like the only thing I can give credit to it for, because otherwise I'm still pretty confused. The low medevac count still is actually hurting, because there's multiple engagements happening. Lots of stims happening as well, because Showtime is actually bullying Cure back.
Yeah.
Most of his army's back at home. He's going to take a concave on the high ground that Showtime probably shouldn't just dive headfirst into, but okay.
Showtime's going to stay even on upgrades as well, which is fine, right? You don't necessarily have to be ahead or anything. I mean, this is literally just pure bio. A few Widowmines mixed in. There's just no movement towards anything else. I mean, now you're on 62 workers, you're kind of like, well, you've got the economy to do whatever else as well. It's just been getting to this phase has been kind of weird, and Showtime was able to really take advantage of it by delaying that third base and killing off 11 workers for a while.
Yeah. Okay, well, he's 2-2, Ghost Academy out on the way, 4th base on the way. Maybe canceled. I mean, Showtime really does have to respect such a large army, and especially the Marauder count, because there was like a ton of tech labs added to those barracks. So I'm glad he did, but yeah, I think if you don't take any damage, you're not worried about being pushed, then that's when you accelerate to your own 4th base. Maybe could have been even faster, and you do grab that Storm, which Storm wouldn't kill a ton of Marauders unless you get 2 or 3 down, but that's when the Colossus beams added on top would actually kill them. So, or Disruptors, because apparently that's how Showtime likes to play right now.
Yeah. You're going to come around the other right. He's going to pick off this Pylon. So Pylon will go down, and he's going to see Cure still kind of pressing forwards, and is looking to kind of come in. Cannon taking some damage initially. I mean, Showtime's not really positioned to deal with this at all, because that's a lot of bio, and yeah, Archon's not even fighting here either, so he's in a little bit of trouble at the moment. The Nexus didn't have any energy or the cooldown on the recall. He will defend the bottom left very comfortably, and now the Disruptors are showing up. In the end, he might defend this base as well. It's just taken him a long time. He loses some probes, but he does push everything back. Blinking forwards doesn't find anything there. Kure loses out on the army, but again, he's able to get in there and deny and delay for a little while.
As weird as the follow-up to Drilling Claws was, and as poor as the Drilling Claws opener was too, this game is really evened out. Like,
Yeah.
he's got the Ghost, he's got the double starport. Showtime's not gotten anything faster, really, than maybe, again, he could have, maybe. Still, like, even imbalance upgrades, finishing up 2-2 just now, but only working on +3 armor, as Kure should start as 3-3.
Yeah, there's no
Just didn't have
reason to,
minerals.
like, not go 3-3, right? There's nothing he wants to kind of, like, delay 3-3-4. Yeah, I love what Cure's doing. He's setting up surrounds every single time the zombie comes from top and bottom. And he actually... Oh, Showtime just blew up his own Colossus with the Disruptor shot. And now Cure's going to keep swarming on forwards. And Showtime's just missing so much of the army as well. And he loses a lot here. All the Colossus, Disruptors going down. And Showtime, he only has 1 Disruptor and 3 Archons left for splash damage. And suddenly this army of Cure starts to look so much more terrifying.
Does he just win now? That is a very overpowering army. Only
Yeah.
1 Disruptor here to try and help out. Just dodge out of that. He doesn't
Yeah.
really get very much. That's actually it. That
Wow.
huge surround was so perfectly set up.
Yep. You come from the top, you come from the bottom, and you just can't really fight. Like, Showtime's army is not designed to fight an army like that. Colossus are weak to surrounds, Disruptors are weak to surrounds, and Cure uses it to the max to take this 3-1 series. Really, really just crazy series from start through to finish, though.